Okay, Bassam, what are you doing here today in front of the State Department?
We're protesting the massacre of more than 60 people in the southern Lebanese city of Qana by Israeli military.
And as a result of that, I think there's been like a 48-hour ceasefire, but it only applies to the aerial attacks. Do you think there's going to be a ceasefire here? Is the slaughter just going to continue?
Well, the ceasefire that Israel announced is from the beginning a very ineffective, useless announcement for various reasons. But instead of talking about the reasons, let me say that it was broken this morning by Israel on the basis of one of many million justifications that they have come up with, or they can come up with, and it's already been broken. This is not a ceasefire. This is simply a way to deflect world attention until Israeli army regroups and continues its onslaught on Lebanon.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're of Lebanese extraction, and you were actually in Lebanon when this all started. Could you just tell us about that for a moment, please?
Well, simply, I was in Beirut when all of this started, and the first week was a horrible week whereby Israel, within just 3 days, decimated the majority of the Lebanese infrastructure, especially the infrastructure that deals with getting people out of the country, or getting people to communicate with one another, or getting people to actually get from one place to another. They've destroyed all bridges, and they've made leaving the country almost impossible, except, of course, for foreign nationals that were protected somehow or were avoided.
As far as you're concerned, what has to happen here in order for this to be brought to a total stop?
What has to happen is two things. The immediate goal is to end the ceasefire, and that can only happen by the application of pressure from a very powerful side, which is the United States, on Israel to stop the bombing. But that is not going to actually do very much in the long term. What should happen in the long term is for the international community, whether or not led by the United States, to apply serious pressure on Israel to begin ending its occupation of land in Syria, Palestine, and in Lebanon. Without ending the occupation, much of what we hear in the news, it's simply delaying the inevitable, which is more wars, more bloodshed, more killing, more destruction, more devastation, and perhaps even more violent action, whether it's called resistance or terrorism.
We now know about the power of the Israel lobby because of the Harvard study. Is there any chance that the American people are going to wake up to what's going on here?
The Harvard study on the Israeli lobby is significant in the sense that for the first time the establishment has spoken out against the power of the Israeli lobby. But this is not something that we knew about when we've read this report. The Israeli lobby has been extremely effective for the past several decades. It's the second most effective lobby in the United States, and it has been one of the major sources of the U.S. Middle East policy that has actually brought the U.S. to an all-time low in the Middle East in terms of people's attitudes, and brought the U.S. to an all-time low in Europe in terms of people's attitudes. Partly, not wholly because of the Israeli lobby, because there are interests in the United States that actually are outside the Israeli lobby, but that is definitely something that one hopes that people in the United States would begin waking up to, will begin realizing that, for instance, the Iraq war was far more in the interest of Israel than in the interest of Americans who are dying in Iraq and who are actually causing the chaos that has produced the killing of many thousands of people, and has itself, the U.S. government that is, through the military, killed many thousands of civilians.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bassam.
Thank you.